All right. Week 2. Monday, April 6th to next Monday, April 13th. Most of you have probably already seen that we'll be doing remote learning, distance learning, online learning, however you want to call it, through the end of the school year. And unfortunately, I'm not going to get to see you guys in geometry class again. And I'm a wee bit sad. But here's our agenda for today. I will post a video for the work on week 1, assignment 2. We're going to talk math in the real world, a notice and wonder, number 1. And we're going to start diving into data analysis. I think it's important that we start thinking about what does math in the real world look like. You will also have some PSAT questions, and your assignment is to do some PSAT questions. There's also a couple of additional questions in the Google form. So, assignment submission, because I got quite a few questions last week, and I think we figured out a couple of little bugs. But I do want you to use the Google form to answer all questions, because it's not just submit pictures of your work, but I do want you to submit pictures of the work that you're doing, and I want you to do those into the Google form. Now, if you're using the Schoology app on your phone and you try to enter the Google form through the Schoology app, what you need to do is you need to open the form using Safari. You also need to make sure you're signed into your Google with your school email. In order for me to see all of the work, I would prefer that you use the Google form, because there are additional questions in the Google form that aren't just uploading pictures. But in order to upload pictures, what I found is you have to actually use the little button that exits in the Google form through that. So real quick, Schoology app, iPad. So hopefully it will work the same stinking way. All right, so courses. Notice I linked all your geometry courses together. Distance learning. Yes, I have more folders. So here's the Google form. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, well, one, I would need to sign in. But if you look in that bottom right-hand corner with the arrow jumping out, if you press that one, it says open in Safari. Open it in Safari. That's where you're going to access the Google form. And if you access the Google form through that, you can upload those pictures. So like I can click add a file. I can go to select files from my device. I can go to photo library, and we could upload a picture from that. So just as an FYI. So use the Google form. So each week I'm kind of going to get into this idea of data in the real world and math in the real world. I think it's an important thing if we're going to continue our learning, to learn things that are going to be important. So I came across this. You guys know I'm on Twitter all the time. So I came across this on Twitter, and I thought it was kind of interesting, just from a perspective of, what we've been talking about and why we are distance learning. And so I don't want you to do any math with this. I'm going to put it up here. It'll also be in the notes. There'll be blank slides in the notes, and there'll be slides with my writing on them as well. So in the Google form, you're going to be asked to identify 2 things for each of the following questions with regards to this picture. So this is the picture that I saw. And of course, I follow math teachers on Twitter because I'm a math nerd, but I thought this was interesting. I believe this is a sign from somewhere in Asia, just based on the language that I can see. But what do you notice about this sign? And what do you wonder about this sign? So in the Google form, I'm going to be asking you to identify 2 things that you notice about the sign and 2 things that you wonder about the sign. It says, stay 6 feet apart, which is the recommendation that we are hearing in the United States as well, along with this picture. And we'll talk a little bit more about this next week as well. So, all right, SAT questions. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them to go over with you. I believe that these were 9 that were on the SAT that you took. So we're going to go through them. Remember that you have a video recording. So if I'm talking too fast or you need a break, press pause, go back to it later. Or press pause, re-answer the question and see if you can answer it, and then follow along with my reply to it. So, all right, data analysis, PSAT. Feeding information for boarded pets. All right. The table above shows the kinds of food that are fed to the cats and dogs currently boarded at a pet care facility. What fraction of the dogs are fed only dry food? So we need two things. We need dry food and we need dogs. So I look at my table and I see the fed only dry food and the number of dogs is 2. So that means my numerator is going to be 2. Now, is my denominator the number of dogs or the number of total animals or the number of total people, the total animals fed dry food? Now we go back to the question. It says, what fraction of the dogs? So that means that my denominator is going to be my 25. So B would be my answer. Hopefully you guys got that one right too. It was number 1 on the... these are all calculator questions, actually. I did not identify that, but these are all calculator. Calculator. Apparently, I can't spell anymore either. All right. This one, lots of words. How many of you skip problems because they have a lot of words? Yeah. Well, this one's actually pretty simple. It doesn't actually require a lot of math work. No algebra. A market researcher selected 200 people at random from a group of people who indicated that they liked a certain book. The 200 people were shown a movie based on the book and then asked whether they liked or disliked the movie. Of those surveyed, 95% said that they disliked the movie. Which of the following inferences can be appropriately drawn from this survey result? So surveys are all around us. But what can we get out of a survey and the result that's given to us? At least 95% of the movie who go see movies will dislike this movie. No, these are people who liked a book. At least 95% of the people who read books in general? No, we're talking about this book. Most people who dislike this book will like the movie. No, they indicated that they liked a certain book. So therefore, our answer is going to be most people who like this book will dislike the movie. That is a true statement based on this specific survey of this group of 200 people. All right. This one requires not a lot, but sometimes there's going to be a one diagram that's left for more than one question, and that's what's happening in this one. The scatter plot above shows the densities of 7 planetoids in grams per cubic centimeter with respect to their average distances from the sun in astronomical units, the line of best fit. According to the scatter plot, which of the statements is true about the relationship between the planetoid's average distance from the sun and its density? So distance from the sun is x, density is y. So, reading through the answers, because this is the easiest way to do this one. Planetoids that are more distant from the sun have lesser densities. Is that a true statement? Yes. As the distance increases, the density goes down. It has a negative slope. I believe A is going to be the answer, but let's just check. Planetoids that are more distant from the sun have greater densities. Definitely not true. Density of the planetoid that is twice as far from the sun is half the distance of that of another planetoid. So let's go 4 to 0.8. That's twice as far, yes? But your y values go from like 5 point something to 5. Is that half of the density? No, because we'd have to go down to at least like 2.5. Okay. Density from a planetoid to the sun is unrelated. The distance from a planetoid to the sun is unrelated to its density. No, there's definitely a line of best fit that fits, so they are related to each other. All right, so same picture. An astronomer has discovered a new planetoid about 1.2 AU from the sun. According to the line that best fit, which of the following best approximates the density? So we're going to go to 1.2, draw a line up. We're going to look at that y value, and it's a little more than 4.5, but not quite halfway. So 4.6 looks like a really good selection. All right. This feels like me lately with all of the meetings and online meetings, and my headphones feel like they're stuck to my head. But Lonnie spent 15% of her 8-hour workday in meetings. How many minutes of her workday did she spend in meetings? Well, how do we take a percentage of a number? We're going to multiply our 0.15 times 8 hours. So using a calculator, I found that to be 1.2 hours. But the question says how many minutes. So now we need to take our 1.2 and multiply it by the number of minutes in an hour. Yes, you are correct. It is 60. When we do that, we end up getting 72. Or you could just say 1.2 hours. There's only one answer in minutes that is greater than 1 hour, and that was the 72. All right, another very applicable question for the time that we're in, because yes, all I'm doing is running. I've run every single day. I mean, I was running every single day to begin with, but I literally have been running every single day. I think it's saving my sanity. If you guys do go out and run, please make sure you social distance from each other. But running is a really good activity that hasn't been canceled. All right, so Teresa ran on her treadmill for 30 minutes, and her time and speed are shown on the graph above. According to the graph, which of the following statements is not true? All right, she ran at a constant speed for 5 minutes. There's your 5-minute constant speed. Constant speed means it neither goes up nor down, so that one's correct. Teresa's speed was increasing for a longer period of time than it was decreasing. So we increased from 0 to 5. And from 20 to 25. So that's increasing. How many minutes is that? That's 10 minutes. And then decreasing happens when? Decreasing comes from 10 to 20 and from 25 to 30. So decreasing happens for a total of 15 minutes. So B is the one that is not correct. Now let's just check. Decrease at a constant rate. Straight line, slope is straight. That is true. Teresa's speed reached its maximum during the last 10 minutes. So she had a maximum speed of 8 miles an hour at time t equals 25. So that is true. So B is the correct answer. All right. This one just requires a little bit of reading. The scatter plot above shows the data for 10 charities along with a line of best fit. For the charity with the greatest percent of total expenses spent on programs, which of the following is closest to the difference of the actual percent and the percent predicted? So greatest percent of total expenses. So we need to look at our axes. The x-axis is total income. The y-axis is percent of total expenses spent on programs. So we're looking for the greatest percent of total expenses. So we're going to be looking for the biggest dot. If you've identified this dot as your biggest dot, that is correct. Difference means subtraction. So we want to know how far apart are these two lines. How far apart are those? So that's like 92.5 to like 85. So maybe about 7. 10 is too much. 4 is too little. 1 is definitely too little. So 7 would be the correct answer there. All right. Last 2 problems. All right. So mean. What was the mean score? Mean means average, which means add them all up and divide by the total. All right, let's look at this. So we're looking at day 1. How many people scored a 5? 2. 2 people scored a 5. How many points is that worth? That's worth 10 points. Oh. All right. 4 scored a 3. How many points is that worth? 12 total points. 3 scored a 4. Again, total of 12 points. Blue. 2 scored a 6. Actually, 6 scored a 2. Let's write the same way. 6 scored a 2. Again, total of 12 points. And then last but not least, 2 scored a 1. So that's another 2. So 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, and then 12 is 48. How many total people were scored? 20. So this is a grid-in response. So you could get your calculator out and divide it. I actually divided it in my head and did 24 divided by 10. Cut them both in half, which means that this is 2.4. There's your grid-in response answer. So mean score, once you start having more than one person scoring in each category, we do need to do that multiplication. Why didn't I do 0 and 3? Well, because 0 times 3 is what? 0. And we just add them all together. Okay? Last one. All right. Same group of contestants, but now we're only talking about receiving a score of 5. So no contestant received the same score on 2 different days. So if you scored a 5 on day 1, you didn't score a 5 on day 2. That's just what it means. Or on day 3. If a contestant is selected at random, what is the probability that the selected contestant received a score of 5 on day 2 or 3, given that they scored a 5, period? All right, so how many people scored 5s on 2 or 3? So total of 5 people scored a 5 on day 2 or 3. And the question is how many scored 5s, period? 7. So we're going to divide that by the total number of 5s, which is 7. So that means my answer is 5, 7. So on the grid-in response, you could grid 5 over 7. You could also change that into a decimal approximation, which I didn't do ahead of time, so I don't know what that is. So there is our review of those PSAT questions that you guys did for me right before break. They are all here. So let's just go back and let's check our agenda. Again, I posted the video. I will post the video. You have notice and wonder questions, and you are going to dive into some data analysis. So I selected about 5 or 6 questions for you. Do me a favor, please make sure you show work on paper. So you don't need to print out the SAT questions and show your work on that. You can just show your work on your paper and label them. All right, number 1, blah, 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 blah. Number 5, because I selected different ones, blah, 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 blah. And then just, write your letters that go with them. Number 12, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So you can see, actually, I did put them on here. These are all, I can't spell. These are all calculator questions. Okay, so you don't have to print them out, but do the math on separate paper and then take a picture and upload. There's 2 other small parts of the assignment that are on the Google form, but you're going to have to open the Google form to see them. Hope you guys are well. I miss you. If you get a chance, log into office hours, especially if I haven't seen your faces yet. I miss you guys, so I would love for you guys to log on. Talk to you guys later. Bye.